Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. Let's look at the last miào. Okay, this miào, compared with all the miào previous ones, the constant is here, right? We have 少, that means few, less, smaller quantity, or fewer in numbers. We use that constant, and everything sound miào. However, this one, I would say this miào is the most frequently used miào in our contemporary Chinese language. I'm not sure if you have came across this one, but okay, if we flip the sequence, we put the 少 in front of the girl imagery, 女, or female, femme, on the right, if we put that as a single character, 少女 means young girls, teenage girls. However, we flip it and made it into one character, and this character means miào. Wonderful. Okay, I guess I was wrong. It's not exact the same sound because the previous ones are all miào, 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 right? We have 5 miaos. But this one is miào, it's fallen tone. Traditional, simplified, the same. However, if you look at 2,000 years ago, miào, it's a different one. It's not a woman symbol, even if with 2 circles in the front. It has nothing to do with women. And this is Chinese character 玄, means mystery, means the unsolved, unknown, or unknowable part of the world that humans try to figure out, but just couldn't. Well, Chinese had that concept already from the very beginning. And I had a long chat with AI because I noticed here you have 2 circles, right? Hanging through a thread. Where does that come from? Why? It means a mystery. That's one thing. And the second, why does 2 circles? Why 2, not 1 circle? 2 circles, and in English we have number 8, and we have a horizontal number 8, that's the infinity sign, which was invented in 17th century, versus 玄 is way ahead of time. 2,000 years ago's dictionary already captured that. So is there any connection? Like why 2 very different cultures far away before the global trade or travel that easy? 2 distinctive cultures signify the unknown, the infinite mystery out there with 2 circles. All right. Well, this is what I learned from the bot. I paired that with my personal experience and understanding. Okay. It's kind of making sense as well. So these 2 circles are 2 spools of thread. And this vertical line is another thread that to hold this circle thread in the process of dyeing thread. I'm not sure if you know much about the dyeing. I personally haven't. Did I ever dye anything? Probably haven't, but I learned from the textile book that dyeing, this is ancient dyeing. I'm sure it's different from contemporary dyeing, but you basically have a dye bath, right? It's kind of a liquid with thick colors in it, and you dip the spool of thread in it. And you can imagine it's from the air into a dye of liquid. It's a different material that you expose this big spool of thread. And if not handled right, it could easily turn that spool of thread become like tangled spaghetti look of things. I mean, handled tangled thread so many times, it's like non-brainer. That surely would happen. So ancient times, people who, I guess, are professional dyers would figure out how to best handle thread without the mess in the end. So the process of threading things would have this infinity sign, kind of two circles, and you just thread in this way, always go in this motion, and then you end up with two circles. That's kind of fix the bundle of thread with two polars, and then it has this middle intersecting part that from one circle you go to the other circle. And it's funny that the infinity, why two circles, is because it shows no starting and end point. And also, like, when you draw from one circle, it's like a counterclockwise, and then you clockwise. So you keep changing direction. So it's almost like oscillating. And that describes a lot of phenomenon in physical world. So I guess this ancient practice of dyeing fabric, supposedly silk, long, non-broken, extended line of fabric. I mean, the longer the fabric, the more luster and more like feels softer on your skin. So that's why, I mean, ancient silk was such a big technology for China's, trade secret. So the silk dyeing process drawn in there, eventually symbolizing the mystery, is not only because of the circle, this going forever, but also because it's dyeing. When dyeing, there are different variation of shade created by different number of dips. If you dip it multiple times, eventually you get black out. So from the lighter color to totally muddy black color, you can see the progression of color getting darker and darker. And this dark color kind of symbolize already kind of unknown, invisible. But also because of the thread, you can imagine layers and layers of thread going this infinity motion. In the middle, when the threads intersect, when you don't have the holes to parse it out, when everything kind of go together, right? Intersecting over here. That's the part that's darkest, because the dye will stay in there, soaking seeping into their fiber at that location more, and turns out darker. And also it's kind of symbolize layers and layers of thread. You simply cannot look at it in. It becomes like a tight bundle that you can observe the surface part, but the inner core where threads intersect with so many times, layers, like iterations, you cannot simply see. So that eventually, this pretty, I guess, ancient technology of dyeing silk eventually used to represent the mysteries, the infinity, the mystery, the unknown world to us. So that was the original pairing of this wonderful sense. This shao, the fewer mystery. Well, or this tiny bit of mystery, give you the sense of wonder. It's kind of human awe-inspiring moment that you were able to see just tiny bit of the mystery in the universe. And then you feel like wowed, right? So that was the origin. Then why later days it became woman or girl, specifically unmarried girl. So that means they are marriageable girls, not somebody's wives yet. They're not taken, so still available girls, supposedly attractive girls, because we have this miào paired with other like descriptors about a woman. So definitely it's a gendered character. Why we switch out mystery that comes from the silk dyeing to girl, to a gender? Well, it's a process of the language. They call it a vulgar vernacular phenomenon, because enough people use it, and not many people are philosophers that can philosophizing metaphysics stuff. But a woman, unlike the mystery, the infinity, it's visible. And if you're lucky, it's tangible, right? So woman becomes almost like a non-brainer for most of men, which in ancient times are the majority of language users. Like they are the readers, the writers. So the swapping of the sense of this wonder-stricken, this awe-inspiring moment that came from the nature, the mystery of nature, to women. That, I don't know how smooth the transition is, but apparently the majority of population is a populist vote that the language users, mostly men, wanted to use a woman to represent wonderful. Okay, there we go. We have 绝妙. 绝 came from cutting a fabric. You can see here we have the fabric symbol in there. That cut a fabric in one knife. So it's like, I don't know about you, but once you cut a fabric, you cannot piece it back together. Well, unless it's sewing, but sewing, you will have marks on there. It's no longer the same status, right? So cutting in Chinese, cutting fabric symbolize the absolute, the one move that irretrievable. So 绝妙 means like the absolute wonderful. You cannot outdo this one. This is like a top, the max. The best you can expect. So 绝妙, you can talk about culinary or any kind of skills that like you think this is the best possible humanly. That's 绝妙. Okay, 奥妙. 奥妙 is about the mystery. So 奥妙 have retained the mysteryness in there. And we have, I guess this is a contemporary version of 奥. That's related to the paw symbol of the animal discovered in a place that a human resident place that humans want to find out who visited us. Is it risky? How long ago? Something like that, right? So it's paw reading, ancient times, is related to survival. So that's another mystery word. And 奥妙 together is like mystery, double down. And then 奥妙 means, how to translate? It almost means secret. It means very few people can figure this out. And it's such a mystery for majority of people. And 奥妙 can be a trade secret, right? Like silk. That could be 奥妙 for many centuries, for many parts of the world, because they have to pay a premium for Chinese silk. Okay. 曼妙. Man means curvious look of a woman body. So here I'm just showing this miao when I transit to be gendered as a female. And the language users didn't lose any chance to use that on women and paired with a shape specific, kind of long and curvious and miao, wonderful. This is how pleasant visually on the language users. But I don't know, seeing this as kind of, as human culture, humans they are relatable to everyday things that can be pleasant to them, and they want to use, I guess, half of the population they can see, and probably also unmarried. So you can imagine young prime age girls in terms of like reproductive function, use that to replace the mystery, the infinity. So I feel it's kind of like a culture loss, like why we get a vulgar, but in another way, it's like for a language to survive, for it to be popular, most people can relate to this better than the mystery, than the fabric dyeing, right? So still, when I see miao, in my mind, I can evoke all kinds of images. This is one possible ways that world can be wonderful. Not necessarily with woman in it, but simply the awe, the nature part of it. Yeah, thank you for your time. See you now.